All right. As I said before, level 5 is mainly a communicative class. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to go about doing your personal work, because personal work is very important. All right. So first of all, you have to really surround yourself with English. What do I mean by that? You don't need to go abroad. All right, for that, you don't need to plan, for example, a vacation abroad, or to go and find a scholarship in order to improve your English. But you can create situations in which you're going to use, and you're going to really force yourself to use the language as much as possible. After that, make English friends. Maybe you're going to ask me, how are we going to do that? Because when we go outside, there are not as many native speakers as we want to see. But it is possible, for example, to join some clubs and to go to some sports centers or cultural centers in which we can meet as many native speakers as we want, and really try to get in touch with those people, try to talk with them, start conversations. You really need to invest on your English. You really need to devote yourself to it if you want to improve. Because let's say 80% of your learning depends on you. It does not depend much on the teachers anymore. A third thing that you could do to improve your English is to find study partners. What do I mean by that? I'm sure you have friends that learn English with you, your classmates, your neighbors, or people that you know at home, or people at home, or people at work that are also learning English with you. So try to find some time. Try to spend some time together and practice your English as much as possible. If it is also possible to have a friend whose English is fairly good, for you to improve your English, because we wouldn't want you to befriend someone whose English is worse than yours, okay? Because the purpose of this is to improve your English. After that, you have to use authentic materials. What do I mean by authentic materials? What I mean is you should use materials in which you can hear native speakers' voices. You can really hear authentic English, but not, for example, materials that have been made by people who speak English as a second or third language. For that, you can download some materials on the net. You can also borrow books from some English libraries. And of course, you can also even go to church if it is possible, because there are some English-speaking churches too. After that, you should set realistic goals. What do I mean by realistic goals? Sometimes language students are too ambitious. What I mean is they start, for example, the term, and then they expect to be able to speak English fluently after 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Let me tell you that it is impossible, right? So in order not to lose our motivation in our learning, let's try and set realistic goals. Like, for example, I'm going to do one thing today, another thing tomorrow, and so on and so forth. One step at a time. All right? For example, you can, for example, set 15 minutes every day to do some reading, or to listen to the BBC, or to listen to some songs. You can also, at the end of the day, review all the vocabulary that you have seen all day. You can also, for example, if you find reading very boring, for example, just set some how to say it, some realistic timetable. Like, for example, it is impossible for me to read for 1 hour every day. So let's say I'm just going to read for 5 minutes every day. That's a realistic goal. All right? After that, you can also try and listen to real English as often as possible. Like listening to the BBC. Yes, I always repeat BBC because it is cheap and it is always available. So try to use it as often as possible. You don't need to buy anything. But if you have the opportunity, for example, or if you can afford to buy other materials, you can download some materials from the net and select the kind of English that you download. Don't download anything that is in English, but try to select them. British, American. As long as it is real English, it is alright. After that, find fun ways to learn new words. Learning can be fun. It is not always boring. Make it fun. Like, if you are a romantic person, read love stories. If you like, for example, ghost stories, or you like horror movies, do that, but do everything in English. Watch everything in English. Don't forget to learn about the culture, because you need to know everything about it. As you know, English has a lot of vocabulary, an awful lot of vocabulary. And they like to use idioms and a lot of expressions. So in order to grasp the meaning, the deep meaning of their language, of their expressions, of their idioms, we really need to learn a lot about their culture. To do that, you can try to have access to some American movies, or to some documentaries about English life, English people's life, American people's life. But we can also read books, and at CNELA we have a lot of that. So whatever you do, whatever you read, whatever you listen to, do it in English. If it is possible to laugh in English, do it. All right, okay. But what I really mean is, whatever you do, try to have fun.